Hi everyone. I don't know what to say. Is it good morning, good afternoon, or good evening? But anytime you are watching it, that is the right greeting. But here is afternoon. So good afternoon. I'm glad that I'm finally doing this series. Today, I'm starting with definition about covenants and promises of God unto Abraham. I posted and I was saying, is there a difference between covenants and promises of God between Abraham? Of course there is. So today we are going to be starting with just definition. So I advise you sit back and watch this video to the very end. I'm sure you will enjoy it. Yes. So let me start with defining covenant in my terms, and I'm sure my terms agree with dictionary and anybody's knowledge. I define covenant to be an agreement, but in a noun, as a thing or a name, it becomes a covenant when it's a verb that involves an action. And covenant does not just occur with a person. Covenant occurs between one and two persons, and that makes it covenant because there is an agreement. Agreement, you cannot agree within yourself and make it a covenant. No, it has to be two people, you and that other person, agreeing on one thing, having understanding on one thing, having knowledge on one thing, and that makes it a covenant. When we define covenant, we also see covenant in Old Testament, sorry. There's something about Bible covenant. It differs with any other covenant. Yes. Why I said so is because you will see covenant between God and human. Yes. Especially in Old Testament. It was always based on God and humanity. So that binding makes it covenant. And this covenant we're talking about, we have four different kinds of covenants. First, let me talk about the royal grants covenant. I have with me, I jotted that some notes about that. Okay, now I'm starting with royal grants. Royal grant means covenant where one party makes an unconditional promise to the other without requiring anything in return. But there is an agreement. Do we understand? There is an agreement. I first of all bring up something or an issue or an agreement and you key into it, that makes it covenant. And secondly, let me talk about the Abrahamic covenant. Yes, Abrahamic covenant, God promised to make him great nation, blessed him and his descendants. We in the previous video we were talking about understanding the difference between God's covenant and the promises of God unto Abraham. So I will revisit this Abrahamic covenant. Yes, definitely I'm going to revisit it. So let me talk about the third one quickly because I don't want this to be more than 10 minutes. If at all, it will get to 10 minutes. Yes. So Mosaic covenant. I say Mosaic covenant is between God covenant with Israelites given through Moses, outlining laws of expectations. Yes, we remember God gave what is it called, tablets, stated the things he want the children of Israel to do. We call them Mosaic covenants. I don't want to dive into this because I'm not teaching mainly on covenant alone, but I'm heading straight to somewhere. So I'll just be giving us definition and differences so that I can get to where I'm heading to, which is Abraham and God having a covenant and then the promises of God unto Abraham. So the fourth one is, yes, I've talked about the first, the second, the third. The fourth one is new covenant. This covenant happens to be the one that comes through Jesus Christ. The covenant is giving us forgiveness of sin, okay, and restoration, a relief from our iniquities. And this covenant has to do with Christ Jesus shedding his blood on cross just for you and just for me. Yes, did I say four? Let me give this additional one. Yes, this suzerain covenant, that is suzerain vassal covenant. This is a covenant between a superior person and inferior. So I was talking about the Old Testament kind of covenant. I said that mostly we see it with God and humans, or with God and Israel. Yes, this happens to suit or to fit in. Going through this, you see that it's either you see God or you see man. All of this covenant makes covenant. So quickly, let's dive into God's promises. Definition of promise. Yes, let's talk about promise. Promise is a declaration of a person's word without asking for the other person agreement. Is what someone personally wants to do. Yes, I can say I promise you a car and you didn't ask for it. You never needed it. Perhaps, or you need it, I don't know. Or you have a problem, you didn't approach me, but I am giving it to you to solve your issue. So, promise is a declaration of someone's word, one person. Look at the difference now. In covenant, we have two people coming to an agreement, okay, and there's always something to show forth for it, to stand in for it. In Old Testament, if someone wants something from you in those days, for instance, I want a land from you, okay, there must be something to agree that, okay, I'm giving you out this land, I'm giving out this land to you for 10 years, and I agree that I'm going to give it to you for 10 years. So there's going to be something to stand as a witness. Are we getting it? To stand as a witness. But in terms of promise, we don't necessarily need a witness. You can decide to make a promise, and that's why promises can be broken. But you see, covenant, you can't break covenant. You can't break covenant, you fulfill covenant. So this is the little I can say, that the difference between covenant and promises. But remember, we are trying to talk about the difference between God's covenant and his promises unto Abraham. The question you should be asking yourself before the next video is, where did Abraham meet God to ask God for something, and then God have to come into covenant with him? Or why did God have to make a covenant or do a covenant between Abraham and himself? But by the time we start this series, as we continue this series, we're going to see that there was need, and Abraham saw it and he keyed into it. There was nothing God said to him that was not in his agreement. It was in an agreement terms that it became a covenant, and you see some places God uses covenant and blessing. Thank you. So see you in the next video. Bye.